Hello, people. How you doing? This is video number 2, because the last video, for some particular reason, didn't record anything except for the first 14 seconds. So I'm going to try this one more time. Yeah, I did 14 seconds of an 18-minute video. Anyway, human nature. That is what I study. That is what I write. Writing to me is the study of human nature. It is the study of history, of psychology, of all other aspects of human nature. Writing is fun, said no writer whatsoever ever. Anyway, but I like studying human nature. I like studying people. I'm a people watcher. I will watch people. What is wrong with the video? It's better not. Picture looks nice though. Picture looks very clear. It's very nice. Anyway, writing is studying human nature. That's why I like it. I'm a people watcher. To be a good writer, you need to be a people watcher. You also need not to get caught. Sometimes. I've met a lot of people this way. Had a very lovely conversation with a very lovely lady some odd years ago, and I'm going to write a story about that. In fact, I did. I wrote a part of a rough draft of it. I still have the rough draft somewhere. But anyway, I digress. Writing is studying human nature. It is studying the best, the worst, and the most horrific of human people, of human history, of human psychology, of human a lot of things. There's very little I will not write about. Very little I haven't written about, which has probably bothered some people out there. Because I will write about almost anything. I will write about sexual issues. I will write about the Holocaust. I will write about, you name it. I probably have or will write about it. I'm interested. Look, I've read Holly Madison's book about her life in the Playboy Mansion. I liked the book. I thought it was pretty good. I think she was fairly honest. I think she rationalized a lot of what she did, and she did. I liked the book. I found it interesting. I found her interesting. I found the psychology of it all interesting. I found the show stupid. The show was dumb. And listening to Girls Next Level, and the show with her with Bridget, yeah, it was a lot of nonsense, and it was I believe that. But I digress. I mean, I like studying history. And to me, that's studying human nature. I like studying theology. That to me is studying human nature. I like studying philosophy, mythology. And, to me, everything goes back to human nature, to the art of studying human nature, why they do what they do. Humans are fascinating creatures. They will rationalize anything and everything to do what they want to do. I'm sorry, but that stuff fascinates me. Writing fascinates me because I get to explore the human brain, which is really, to me, the final frontier. Really is to go, how deep can the human mind go? Because we are thinking creatures, and the things we come up with to do to ourselves and to each other, or allow to be done or not done to ourselves or each other, is downright fascinating. Okay, my best example is I asked a girl once to bark. Yes, I asked her to bark. I was working for the Fort Apache Animal Hospital. I said, Shannon, bark. Bark for me. She barked. Shannon, bark for me again. She barked. Now Shannon, I can tell people I made a girl bark. Now, granted, Shannon was a pretty nice girl, and she was going along with the joke. But there are people out there who dress up with dog ears, a collar, and a tail, sometimes, and they like this. They enjoy it. They're having fun. I want to know what kind of psychology is inside that head. I want to know what allows a person to do that, or the other person who's doing it to them. I want to know why there were Hitlers and Mussolinis and Stalins and Mao Zedongs and Hirohitos and other people I can name who were tyrants. I want to know why. I want to get inside their heads, find out what triggered them, what made them into the crazy psychopaths that they became. I want to know why Churchill was the way he was. and Neville Chamberlain was the spineless individual that he was. And why de Gaulle pretty much thought he pretty much was the center of the universe, or at least France. Right? I'm fascinated by this. I'm also fascinated by the ordinary human, the ordinary common man who just goes about their lives really not being paid any much attention to. The ordinary people. I mean, as much as I think The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck is a little overrated, it's still a good book. It's still a good book about the ordinary human, the common man during the Great Depression. And yes, I do think John Steinbeck is a good author. I just think he's a little overrated. I'm sorry. I just do. I've read The Grapes of Wrath. It's okay. I slogged my way through it. I got it. Okay. But I didn't find it to be this mega classic that people tell me it is. Now, I do like his short stories. You'll realize that I like short stories more than novels. It's probably more my problem than just Steinbeck's because I slog through novels and I get bored very easily, unfortunately. But I got through it. And no, I have not read War and Peace yet. That's a monster to read. I tried to read that one. See, I like psychology. To me, psychology is what writing is all about. That's why I like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. It is my favorite Gothic novel, and don't tell me it's not a Gothic novel. It's a Gothic novel. I like it. I like it because it is dual nature. It is human nature, a book about human nature. In this case, literally divided into two people, or two personalities, I should say. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by human psychology. I think to be a good writer, you've got to be interested in psychology, normal and abnormal psychology. You have to be interested in history. Because if you have created characters, you need to write their history. To me, they're connected. The other sense of it, I just find you can find a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of interesting this, that, and the others by reading actual history and create characters that feel like they fit the time frame that you're talking about or writing about. Mythology is wonderful. Theology is good, and philosophy. All these are all tentacles to the same creature known as human nature. But so far, I don't seem to be disconnected. These things seem to be well. That's rather frustrating when I did an 18-minute video and 14 seconds of it got recorded. But anyway, I like writing. I mean, writing is about sometimes writing a story about the mundane does work. I've done it many times because I just one, I wanted to write something, and two, I wanted to see if I could at least create something that might be interesting to read. Now it's all on my blog site. Okay, I know when people think of blog site, they think of journal. Well, there's a journal section in there, but and for the most part, I rarely ever use the journal. I usually write in the journal part if I'm just feel I'm bored and I just want to have a little fun. The journal is really meant to be about 75% lighthearted fluff, and maybe I might talk about something serious 25% of the time. Maybe it's meant to be taken. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's sort of poking fun from people who write a blog site and want to just talk about themselves constantly. This is actually three people, me, myself, and I talking to myself. It's supposed to be taken with the humor it's meant, most of the time. But anyway, my blog site, I like writing. My blog site has all my writings, my fiction, nonfiction. I like it and I hate it at times, but I'm always drawn back in because human nature is fascinating. Why do people do what they do? I mean, what makes people act the way they do? What makes people willingly do the things that they would be rather degrading to other humans? Human, I mean, I've always said this. If you want to understand human nature, the best way to really understand human nature, study World War II. Study World War II because it was the most horrific war ever fought on this planet, and it was a world war. and involve the entire planet at war. You want to talk about good, the bad, and the ugly of humanity. Study World War II. I mean, you have heroes, villains, and monsters in World War II. I mean, you want to talk about the worst of humanity? Study the Holocaust. Study the Japanese raping of mankind. That's what it's called. I'm sorry, people, whether you like it or not, the Japanese during that time were no better than the Nazis. It's just wrong. I mean, you want to study human nature at worst. Study all the atrocities of World War II. There were a lot of them on all sides. They were everywhere. From the hugest of acts like the Holocaust and Nanking to the smallest of acts of shooting prisoners of war. Study human nature if you want to understand the real inhumanity to man. Study World War II. There's also the good stuff, and the not so bad but not so good stuff. Yeah, humans are interesting. They really are, at least to me. Yeah, they can drive you crazy. And in this day and age what we have out there right now, I'm going to try not to get political. It's difficult for me, but I will try. So I'm interested in history. History to me is human nature on a big scale. You know, I do have that. Yes, my degree history makes me highly qualified to judge everyone. I only have a degree in history. I've studied about history books for about 45 years, so I know some stuff. But I enjoy the psychology of it all. I want to understand why people do what they do. Stories are everywhere. They always ask writers, where do you get your ideas? Well, it's called humanity. It's going outside and observing humanity. You could write a story about anything if you really wanted to write a story. Not all stories have to be these complicated, war and peace, Les Miserables, monster tomes that just go on and on and on and on. I tried to read War and Peace. I tried. And I think the biggest novel I'm reading right now is that one. He is my second favorite Russian author. Chekhov is my first favorite Russian author. I mean, I like Russian authors are interesting. Russian writers, Japanese I like better. I like Japanese authors better. I like their stories. But then again, I lived in Japan for 2 years, so I've never been to Russia. But I'm fascinated by the culture. Also, that's another thing. Social studies is another thing. If you want to be a good writer, you have to study that stuff. When I was living in Hawaii, I was at Honolulu Junior Academy, and my social studies teacher, Mrs. Bell, that was her name, Mrs. Bell, taught social studies, and I loved that class. That was a fun class. She would bring in caviar or certain countries, or pita bread, or she would bring in foods of the different countries, and I really enjoyed that. That was fun. I had a pretty decent. I wasn't a great student. I was probably an average student. I was probably an average student. But I did find interest in a lot of those. My freshman year, photography, history, earth science. I started to like science in my freshman year. But anyway, I think there are many subjects. You know what they always say, right way, My theory is yes, right way, which means you should know more and more and more. Never stop studying, never stop learning, never stop reading. Yeah, read other authors. That's true. I mean, that's one of the major advices all writers give other writers. Read other writers. Find out about what they did and how they did it. But in the same breath, read read books on science and theology and history, and don't neglect nonfiction. I think way too many writers read fiction and think they've learned something, or they think that that's all they need to learn. Well, no, I think to be a good writer, a real good writer, you need to learn science, you need to art, nonfiction and fiction. You need to have a combination of subjects. Write what you know. In my mind, implies you need to know as much as you can. Now, whether you ever read in a book about history of trains in England and never use it, that's fine. But you know what? At least you know something about trains in England in the 1800s. I had a book on that subject, that's why I mentioned it. I have tons of books, and a lot of these books I have here are used a lot of times for reference material more than reading. I mean, anyway, I do have a lot of those. I do have a lot of those. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. I might continue this subject at some other point. I just want to make sure that the video actually was recorded because this will be the second attempt today to do this. And I got to go feed my dog because I'm late. Yes, the dog runs my life. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves, people. You know I'm not going to. Later, later.